You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
Oh, I feel like we haven't done this in ages and it's weird. I was away for a few weeks, came back, and then just life has meant we haven't been able to, sit down, talk Miami. If you are watching and you haven't watched the, as Charlie dubbed it, same old Go Time Dolphins episode, go check that out. Myself and Aaron and Josh from the Same Old Dolphins show. A great episode. Obviously, Charlie wasn't there, but he's back now, and so much to delve into. Not just Dolphins, but personal, because we don't speak much outside of the pod. Before I throw over to Charlie, just some housekeeping, I guess. Share, like, subscribe to Go Time Dolphins over at YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, wherever you get a podcast from. Turn on notifications because March 15th, or new season is March 15th, but we'll be going live. So our first episode of the new season will be a live episode. So much to announce. The comments are popping at the moment. Loads of conversations. Charlie, so much has happened. How are you?
Kadeem. Every new league year is the beginning of a podcast year. What season are we about to go into of us recording together?
Season 4.
So we're about to end season 3 and begin season 4.
Correct.
And you still don't know how to do the intro, bro.
Listen, I was so close. I was like, I nailed it. I got it perfect. And when Josh was like, your favorite podcast, I was like, no. Now, to be fair, that one is a new-ish edition. That hasn't been there for the past 3 years. So you can give me that one. That one, I kind of feel that's a new edition, which you've only added on the past few months. And yeah, I was so close.
You did kind of stumble over the for the fans, by the fans. I think you said by the fans, for the fans.
Yeah, I realized I got that the wrong way around.
And then it was just, I'm like, wait a minute. I kind of felt like the San Francisco 49ers, bro. I felt like the quarterback went down, backup quarterback came in, and then Josh was like, yo, don't worry about it, Kadeem. I'm going to take it from here. Like, I feel like you lost your backup quarterback spot, and here comes Josh saving the podcast, hit him with the already. You know what I'm saying? That day, I'm like, oh man, this is some good stuff. Listen, for all of us that listen to the audio version of the podcast, we appreciate y'all. Everybody on Spotify, iTunes, all the audio versions. But y'all got to see the YouTube version of last episode when I was not here. We had the Same Old Dolphins show come through, and those guys killed it. Super professional. We already rock with them. They as close to family as you can get in the podcast industry. And I'm watching the episode, Kadeem, and it was a point in the episode where Kadeem wasn't even in the episode no more. I'm watching the episode, and it was just Josh Katzker and Aaron Katzker, and it was the Same Old Dolphins show on the Go Time Dolphins platform. And then that's how you get the name Same Old Go Time Dolphins. Kadeem just disappeared. And shout out to Josh and Aaron. They didn't skip a beat. If no one said anything, the audio listeners would not have even known that Kadeem was gone. They didn't skip a beat. Kadeem vanishes off the screen, and they just keep talking. Like, I mean, did we really even need Kadeem? Like, we could just do this.
Listen, when I watched it back, I was like, I didn't even need to return. They would have kept on going, done the outro, everything, and that would have been it. And to come back and then just talking about Jesse Davis, I was like, yo, I was like, no, what, guys, continue. I've missed something. I'm never going to try and get back into it. No, thank you so much to Josh and Aaron for being uber professionals. And it's one of those things where, like I said, I went away for a few weeks, saw Shay White Steve on here, and like, you know what? I don't need to come back. Like, this isn't my show no more. I'm just here, and it is what it is.
Bruh. So if Aaron and Josh are listening to this, we need y'all boys back because I got to get on the episode with y'all. I apologize for missing it. And it's crazy because behind the scenes, we did try to arrange it the right way, and I ended up missing the bus, basically. So if we could get the Same Old Dolphin show back on the Go Time Dolphins, I would really much appreciate that. Like, it was so much. I wanted to interject while the show was on. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, Kadeem can't do the outro, can't do the intro. It was just too good. It was too good. But listen, it's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And we might not have the Same Old Dolphins on today, but we do have a guest. And I'm glad I didn't miss this one because it's been a while since we had this guy on. And I kind of want to rename his show, but I don't have permission to rename it. And so I'm not going to give you the name that I would like, but we're going to bring him in. It's Kevin Dern from DolphinsTalk.com. Kevin, what's up, bro? Long time. How you been?
Hey, boys. I'm good. How are you guys?
We all right, man?
I'm curious. What's the name of that you'd rename my show?
Kevin and Chloe.
Oh yeah, Kevin and Chloe. So
Kevin and Chloe, man. Like you gotta have the Kevin and Chloe. You feel me? But
yeah,
what's up? Tell everybody.
She abandoned me today. She was down here. I think she went upstairs to go lay in the sun. So I'm flying solo today.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me at KevinMD4 on Twitter, and then the show Dolphins Talk Weekly. It's actually been more like Dolphins Talk like monthly the last couple months with everything going on. But you can find that. I still write for DolphinsTalk.com from time to time, so all my stuff can be found there. But thank you guys for having me on the show. It's good to be back. I think last time I was on, we only had one kiddo. Now we've got two, so lots of change, man. Thank you.
Listen. Yeah. Like that's I kind of don't like it because we dating ourselves, man. Like, really, time flies that fast. That's crazy. And I don't even know what
quickly. I'm gonna say, I think it was the episode after we lost to the Titans because you was at that Titans game, weren't you? Mm-hmm. So I think,
I was gonna say I don't know the state of the Dolphins when you were on last, but I do kind of remember that we were not in a happy place. You know what I'm saying? It was
right after that Titans game because I went there.
Yeah.
And that was like, we already knew my wife was pregnant, but like she wasn't super far along because we had our second baby in July this past year. So she was only a couple months in.
So we're going to switch it up a little bit this time because I'm sure there's so many things we can go, so many avenues we could take. But something that I really wanted to be a part of that I couldn't have been, that I wasn't a part of with Same Old Dolphins when they came on the last episode was the Zach Thomas conversation. Bro, I know you've been a Dolphin fan for a long time, bro. Zach Thomas finally, he's not inducted into the Hall of Fame yet, but he finally gets the knock to go to Canton. What did you think about it? Did you see any other footage? And how were you growing up? Were you a big Zach fan or what? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was a huge Zach Thomas fan. I started following the team when I was 7, so that's 1993. So they drafted Zach, 3 years later, 96. And that was kind of all I knew as like a Dolphins linebacker, until I got to like high school. So glad that he's in. I think if you look at any of the stat comparisons, and you've had guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Brian Urlacher, even Kevin Mawai saying he should be in. I'm glad he's finally in, and I guess I don't know if you guys knew this. So I actually used to work for Anthony Munoz, who's in the Hall of Fame as a Cincinnati Bengal. And he would do this event every year, like golf dinner auction type thing here in Cincinnati. And he would get all these guys to come, and like it really, really is a cool, close knit fraternity. So, he had everyone. He had guys from like played in the 1950s to like Troy Aikman came. The last year I was there, and I think that was like 2010 or 2011. It's really, really cool, and so happy that Zach gets to be a part of it. Canton's only like a 4.5, 5 hour drive from me, so I may try and get up there for some of the festivities this fall when he goes in. But yeah, just thrilled for him and excited to see it. I actually saw the footage at work, so I couldn't really like celebrate the way I wanted to, but I did on the drive home that night, so it was cool.
Yeah, I knew you weren't too far from Canton. I didn't really know where, but and then I kind of didn't want to put it out there, so I wasn't sure. I think Kevin's up there somewhere. Bro, so we're on the topic of linebacker, and here we go. We get Vic Fangio as our DC, and you would imagine he's gonna want to address linebacker. For my dollar, I think the only two positions that have to have a major overhaul would be linebacker and tight end. I think McDaniel didn't have his what is it, recipe in the tight end room. I think he had to walk into something that was already there. You get your first year on the job, you can't change everything overnight. So I think the tight end room is going to have an overhaul. I seriously doubt Smythe is going to be there. I doubt Gesicki's going to be there. And I think McDaniel really goes to work on that room. But on the defensive side of the ball, coming off the Zach Thomas conversation, I do believe Vic Fangio will have basically control, freedom over his linebacker room. And you got a contract in Jerome Baker. You have Landon Roberts that I think he's not under contract anymore.
Yeah, he'll be a free agent.
Right. I doubt. I don't want to say I doubt he comes back, but because you never know what Vic Fangio wants. Maybe he says, "Oh no, he fits my scheme, and I'm gonna use him this way." Who knows? So that being said, the only person who I know for sure that would be in that linebacker room next season is Channing Tindall. That being said, what do you think about the Vic Fangio scheme, the addition of Vic Fangio, and the trajectory of this linebacker room?
Yeah, so I guess let me back up a little bit. So I actually got to go to Indianapolis last year during the combine. I met Travis Wingfield, who works for the Dolphins there, and we had dinner and drinks, and we actually ended up talking to an NFL reporter and a guy who is now a defensive coordinator of another NFL team. And they had mentioned like this was right after McDaniel had gotten hired. I don't think he had put together the entire staff yet. It was close, but the guy who's now a D coordinator had wished he would have gotten an opportunity. And the reporter said, I'm surprised he didn't go after Vic Fangio, but Fangio was also getting paid that offset money from the Broncos because he was still would have been the head coach had he not been fired. So it's kind of cool to see it come full circle, and that interest in Fangio came back after he decided to get rid of Boyer. I have watched as many videos and film sessions. Like there's a great one from Coach Vass on YouTube. I think their game, it's a Denver Broncos game against Dallas in Fangio's last season there. And they went into Dallas and smoked them. It was like 30-16. And like one of those touchdowns was like a garbage time touchdown. They blew them out. And that was a pretty potent Cowboys offense. It's very cool to see, like, to give Dolphins fans a perspective, like the Chargers game last year that Miami played when Tua was 3 out of 17 in the first half, and Miami couldn't get anything going. Brandon Staley worked under Fangio. Like that is a lot of the elements of the defense. So you're going to see that cover 6, which is quarter, half, to the strong side of the field. You're going to see, half quarter, which is the cover 6. It's actually called cover 8 to the weak side of the field. They do a ton of stuff to kind of manipulate the defense. And rather than be ultra aggressive and show you blitz looks the way Flores and Boyer did, they're trying to make the quarterback outthink himself and make a bad decision. They're trying to use deception. So Jevon Holland ought to be the happiest Miami Dolphins player on the roster. Like, if he's not a superstar, this year, something went wrong or he got injured or something. Safety play is absolutely critical. I think because it's a lot more reliance on zone, you're probably going to see a little bit of a renaissance from Xavier Howard. Like, you don't have to have him traveling with the other team's number one. You don't have to have him in press man, down in, down out. Hopefully he's back healthier this year, but I think he would be a huge beneficiary to it because you can disguise a lot of the coverages. Cover 6 and cover 8 are kind of to use a baseball analogy, those are the fastball. They use a lot of cover 3 and a lot of cover 1 lurk as kind of the changeup. And 1 lurk is just a terminology thing with Fangio. It's kind of the same cover 1 that Miami ran under Flores and Boyer. So there will be some familiarity to it. There's also some cover 0 stuff, but it's not as aggressive as the way Flores and Boyer ran it. Like, they're going to show you a pressure look, but there's usually a lot more guys dropping back into coverage, and they're trying to make you slide your protection one way and bring pressure from the other side rather than here's 7 guys up front. Every 7, all 7 guys are coming. Teams started to pick that apart on Miami last year. So I think it's a pretty big change as far as what you're going to see them do in terms of coverage and then the secondary. I think, everyone makes a big deal about the 3-4, 4-3 stuff. Most of the stuff he's going to do is out of a nickel. So you're going to see like a 4-man front with 2 linebackers on the field a lot of the time. I think the personnel Miami has up front, for the most part, marries up pretty well with it. Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer should be fine to, on the inside. Chubb, Phillips should be fine as edge players. There's a few in there that maybe, I would have some questions about their fit or, just from a contractual standpoint, but there's not, other than maybe like the linebacker room, there's not really a ton of major surgery you need to do from what we have under contract now. So I'm pretty excited about it and can't wait to see what they do this offseason with it.
Jump in, Kadeem.
So for those who have been around for quite a while, when we first had Kevin on, I kind of told a story at how, I was a new Dolphins fan, listened to the podcast with Kevin and Travis Springfield, who was mentioned earlier. And to me, Kevin is one of the go-to guys for defensive football. So to me, it was a no-brainer to ask him to come on. And everything you just said, there's like a absolute, like, just stuff you need to know. So first of all, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
So I see so many people say that linebackers are so important to this scheme, and you kind of mentioned that, in a nickel front there'll be 2 linebackers, and if there's only, I assume Channing Tindall we're kind of saying is the only safe one coming back next year. Kind of from what you've seen of Jerome Baker in Miami so far, and what Vic Fangio likes to do with these linebackers, is Baker I don't want to say like a ready-made linebacker. What would he need to do to become ready-made if he's not already, the perfect linebacker for Vic Fangio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had a lot of questions about it because, like, people think of Vic Fangio and, he had gone back to – he was the D coordinator for the Panthers, Colts, and the Texans, and then he went to Stanford with Jim Harbaugh, and then they both came to the 49ers together. So people are, like, oh, who's our Patrick Willis? Who's our Navarro Bowman? Patrick Willis is a Hall of Famer. I think Navarro Bowman was probably on that path until that terrible knee injury he had.
It was so good.
Yeah. Like, the cool part about this defense is you don't need to have Hall of Fame caliber, like off-ball linebackers like that. He's made it work with guys like A.J. Johnson, who was an undrafted guy out of Tennessee. He's had guys like Nick Kwiatkowski in Chicago. He had Kenny Young, who's bounced around to like 3 or 4 different teams now in the league. All have started games for him and all have played pretty well. I think his it's either his last year in Denver or the year before. They went through something like 14 or 15 different linebackers during the course of the season because of injury. And that's an insane amount of players to cycle through. And, I don't have the graphic in front of me, but I went through and charted like all of his defenses from San Francisco through his last year in Denver. And just looking at the rankings they had as far as like pass defense, the worst he's finished is tied for 16th in the league. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed to improve your pass defense with this. As far as the linebacker play goes, like, I think the biggest obstacle with Jerome Baker is probably more his contract than anything else. Like, I think with a lot of the stuff he's done in coverage in the past is stuff that would fit with the Fangio system. I think he played the run better last year than maybe he had ever in his career, other than maybe his rookie year when they were still in the wide 9 system under Adam Gase. The type of linebacker play he would be doing for Fangio is probably more similar to that than how he was used under Flores and Boyer. So I think it's more, what do they think of his contract? Because I think you can move on from him, and the cap hit's not huge. I think it's like $8 million. So I think he can make him work if he wants him in there. Tyndall, I would have loved for him to get some more experience last year. I think he played 7 snaps on defense. And if I'm not mistaken, every single one of those was against the Bears as like a spy on Justin Fields. He seems like a fit, based on what he's had. You look at guys like Danny Trevathan and Roquan Smith, who Fangio had in Chicago. I think Trevathan even came with him to Denver for like a season or two. You're looking for guys who, they don't necessarily have to be big, huge, 6'2", 240-pound, like Patrick Willis types. Like, he's kind of had all body types in there. As long as you're smart and know you can hit your landmarks and coverage, especially with a lot of the zone stuff they do, you can play in this system. So it's more, in my eyes, it's more going to be mastery of the playbook, knowing what you're supposed to be able to do on the field, and learning all those calls is kind of the big hurdle. From what I know of Jerome Baker, he's always been pretty smart. So with him, I think it's more what they decide to do with his contract, just to, free up cap space. Channing Tindall, I think, would be a great fit. Fangio does not blitz a lot. I think, at least going back from San Francisco to his last year in Denver, the highest blitz percentage he had, like ranked in the league, was only 13th highest. So he's usually in that middle of the pack or lower in terms of blitz rate. But when he does blitz, it's usually with one of those off-ball linebackers or a safety from depth. So like Channing Tindall, Jevon Holland, those would be the guys I would look to see be blitzers in this system. But yeah, I think Baker comes down to the contract situation and what they want to do there cap wise.
I think you hit it on the head when you mentioned Holland and Xavier Howard. The first thing I thought about when I heard Vic Fangio was Holland is going to get off. Holland's going to be a Pro Bowl. Like, you could pen it in right now. You don't even have to use pencil. He's going to the Pro Bowl next year.
I told someone watch Justin Simmons in Denver, and then that's what Jevon Holland's going to do. Like,
shut up.
Yeah.
And my thing is, Xavier Howard, it's such an off-script person. When you have this scheme, he's going to be able to he's going to improvise, and he's the superstar that doesn't have to listen to the play, and I'm gonna do everything that I want to do. He could play a robber concept if he wanted to, and the play doesn't call for it. And that's what X is going to do again. My thing is, I don't know how much tread is left on Xavier Howard's tires. Now, that's a different conversation, but I do think when you play zone, it helps the other corner too now. Because now we don't know what we're going to do. Is Cater Cole's going to start over there? Is not Brandon, but is Byron Jones going to come back? I doubt Byron. I seriously doubt we keep Byron Jones. So now what you're going to tell me is, I imagine you bring back Nick Needham because you need a nickel. Now, what you can do is put Needham in the nickel or Cater in the nickel, or you can put Cater on the outside and save yourself $9 million, $8 million with Byron Jones leaving, or you could just replace him with a different corner. I don't know who you're going to get, but you can replace Byron Jones with a different corner and then have Nick Needham and Cater back and forth in the nickel. Now you have depth, the same depth that we didn't have this past year at corner. And then Trill Williams, I wanted to say friend of the podcast so bad, but we didn't get him on the podcast. But Trill Williams is coming back, so you have no idea. Like, I think the depth on the team is going to look way better at corner. But what this does is, and this is another question for you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have 4-man fronts, and you have already Jalen Phillips. You have the new addition in Bradley Chubb. I wonder what they're going to do with Emmanuel Ogbah now, since he's getting the bag. And then I kind of wonder if you're going to keep Melvin Ingram, because at the beginning of the year, Melvin Ingram was a motor, and everyone was like, yo, this man's motor is incredible. So if you have the rotation, you could just rotate your front four. And I just said the ends. I mentioned front four, but I only mentioned the ends just now. I didn't mention Sealer or Wilkins or Raekwon Davis. But what do you think happens with the D-line now with so much money going to other places? Does Ogbah come back? Do we extend Wilkins now so we can start signing other people? What do you think happens with the D-line?
So I can speak to some of those things just because I've had some conversations with people who would be what I would consider in the know. I know the team wants to get Christian Wilkins extended. I think that's just a matter of when, not if they get it done. It's just a matter of when. They may have to clear up some more cap space or something, so maybe it's after the draft and free agency and all that, but I think that gets done. I do know that they would want to bring Melvin Ingram back if the price is right. He did switch his agent this offseason, so I don't know if he's looking to get even more money or what the case is there, but I think he would be a nice rotational fit. The Needham thing is interesting because he, I think, said it to Barry Jackson that the team approached him. I've never heard anyone say the team approached Needham. It's always been from Needham's perspective. So I don't know what the case is there. Kind of looking at it, we'll just go back to front. Like, I think there's some odd fits. Like, we'll just start from the inside and out on each level. So, like, Raekwon Davis, pretty good player. You know, you don't really see the nose tackle on the field a lot in this defense because it's so nickel heavy. So I think Wilkins and Sealer are going to get, huge snap shares, kind of like how they did last year. And for whatever it's worth, Sealer changed his agent as well. So he's now with Drew Rosenhaus. I would try and extend him and Wilkins both this offseason if you can, just because I think they're going to absolutely eat in this defense. I think Raekwon Davis is fine, but Fangio's always kind of had one of those kind of big 340-pound like run stuffing guys. Raekwon can do it. He just seems kind of like an odd duck fit because you don't really two gap in the system. You play one gap and you get upfield, which will benefit Wilkins and Sealer a ton. Raekwon, that kind of remains to be seen, but he's going into a contract year himself, I believe. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. With Ogbah, I think his contract is prohibitive to move unless you do trade him. So, like, unless you're going to take, like, a really low pick for him or do like they used to do with Robert Quinn and I think a couple others where, like, Miami would pay a chunk of the salary just to move him off the roster. I could see that happening, but then you look at Fangio, he's always kind of found ways to get guys who are sort of like misfits to play well, like D tackles who are 6'2" and 280. You don't see a ton of them in the NFL, but he makes them interior rushers. One of the cool things he did his first year in Denver when they had Von Miller and drafted Bradley Chubb was he played them on the same side and basically created mismatches and would have them do twist games. Well, in Miami, you could put Phillips and Chubb on the same side and still have Emmanuel Ogbah or Melvin Ingram opposite them and then play one of the two between Wilkins and Sealer in the middle.
I call it a NASCAR package.
Yeah. So you could do something like that. Is Emmanuel Ogbah, like, in this defense, is his snap count ever going to, be valuable based on how much he's getting paid? Probably not. But I still think there's a role for him on the team if they want to keep him. And he could be pretty effective in that. I mean, he was getting 9 sacks a year as basically a third down player under Flores and Boyer. So,
to be fair, last year was the only year that he didn't show up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, bro, we needed you to show up that year.
Yeah.
What you got for us, Kadeem?
To kind of switch to the actually no, we'll stay on defense quickly. We're all going to assume Byron Jones is gone given his salary cap and the fact that he didn't play a single snap last year. But something Aaron said was that, you know, if Vic Fangio has a conversation with him Vic Fangio, Chris Graham, Mike McDaniel have a conversation and he's fully healthy, like if there's a game tomorrow he can play and he's willing to take a pay cut, would you keep Byron Jones and, run it back with X and Byron Jones on the outside? Or do you kind of think that even if he takes a pay cut, it's probably best that we move on and try and bring in someone else?
Yeah, I've heard it's kind of both parties want to go their own separate ways at this point. So I would be surprised if that happens. And I think the biggest thing with Byron is he wants guaranteed money, because if you go back to last year when Miami traded for Tyreek Hill, they gave him an extension to keep him, for what I think four more years after they traded for him. They guaranteed all of Byron Jones's money for last year. So he has no more guaranteed dollars in his contract, and that's what he wants. So him taking a pay cut seems very, very unlikely to me, especially since there's no guaranteed money involved other than like his roster bonuses. I think it's just best to kind of to part ways with him. One of the things you look at with Fangio is you don't necessarily need to have like that elite press man corner that can run a 4-3. Charlie was talking about Jevon Holland. Like one of the cool things is when you play that quarter half stuff, the half side is like a true cover 2, like not 2-man. It's like the old school. The corner's going to squat on the flat and read any like outbreaking route. Jevon Holland is so instinctive and his ball skills are so good. Like, I think you can let him do that and sit there, and they do run some flat trap stuff that you see like Nick Saban and Kirby Smart running at the college level. Belichick's run it in New England for years. Fangio's got that in his bag. Jevon Holland should do really, really well with that stuff. In the secondary, like Kader Kohu, you could probably get by with him being a starter opposite him because you're playing zone so much and it's only a quarter field read. I still think you would get better value for him in the slot. He's such a good player coming forward and blowing up screens and playing the run.
Slot is so important too.
Yeah.
Not everybody can play slot. And if you ask, just for my opinion, I think it's I was going to say more important to play slot, but it's not more important. But you have to be more skilled in the slot because you have multiple options. You could go in, you could go out, you could run every route on the tree from the slot as opposed to on the outside.
And I think if we're being
you need that slot corner.
Like Cater had some issues covering deep last year. He had a lot of penalties, got beat over the top quite a bit. I think if you can keep him in the slot against some of those kind of in and out breaking routes and allow him to play close to the line of scrimmage, that's going to make your whole defense better. I was looking through like some of the free agents that have played for Fangio on other teams, and like Kyle Fuller, who played with Baltimore last year, had I believe an all-pro season with him in Chicago.
We got Kevin Dern hitting us with his best Kadeem Simmons impersonation.
Do you know what? Given my internet, I thought I was going to go on point as well. So, hopefully we get Kevin back shortly.
That's not a bad picture though. You know what I'm saying? Like when Kadeem freezes up, like Kadeem hits us with some like, look at this picture, Kadeem. You know what I'm saying? At least Kevin gave us a pretty good picture. It's still right there.
Listen, I feel like you kind of take a shot at me. Kevin is back, so let's have Kevin return.
So sorry about that.
No, you're good.
the awesome Microsoft update got me right in the middle of that. So we're going.
Hey, so look, listen, I had an
on the
update
mobile
like
phone now.
at the beginning, like my computer was doing something. I like, bro, I was kind of stuttering to trying to get through the windows. I'm like, bro, what's going on here?
So you guys can see,
Yeah,
got me right there. So
yeah, go ahead,
sorry
man.
about that.
It's cool.
Yeah, but I think you don't necessarily have to go out and like buy a big name free agent, or you don't have to use that second round pick on a corner. You could probably find a veteran who's got experience in the system, like Kyle Fuller, Bradley Roby, someone like that can fill in and at least give you quality play right off the bat. I think for the secondary and maybe the defense as a whole, the biggest addition is going to be is what they do at safety next to Jevon Holland. So I like Brandon Jones a lot, but in terms of doing stuff that you see in the Fangio defense, there's really only a 2-game sample size that he's done in Miami, and that would be the Bills game in week 2, his rookie year in 2020, and then the home Bills game from this past season where they were doing a lot of like 2-deep safety looks. So I think they have to make some sort of addition there. And like Von Bell being a free agent from the Bengals, that's a name I've heard kind of leaked down to the pipeline. But Cincinnati does a lot of that pre and post snap, like window dressing stuff with their safeties, the same way Fangio does. I think maybe it'd be worth investing, some bigger dollars in free agency to someone like that. Like CJ Gardner-Johnson from Philly would be like the dream, but I don't know that Miami's going to be in position to like spend big money on a free agent. And then if you do, I think the smarter move is to probably buy like a right tackle to keep, to protect Tua as best you can. Like Mike McGlinchey or Caleb McGarry would be the names there. But like someone like a Von Bell, a Jordan Poyer, a Taylor Rapp from the Rams, I think Nasir Adderley from the Chargers is a free agent. He's played in a very similar defense under Brandon Staley. I think if you could get one of those guys in and make Brandon Jones sort of that third safety, you'd be sitting pretty as far as your pass defense goes, and still have that capability to get guys that can come up and play the run from depth, which is sort of the philosophy of the defense. Is different than Boyer and Flores, where they wanted everything in the middle. Fangio wants everything outside, go horizontal instead of north-south.
Horizontal instead of north-south. I had a question for him too. I had a real good question for him. So we're gonna see if we can get Kevin back one more time. There we go. We're back on deck. Nah, it's cool. Hold on, but I got a question for you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 of them, and we're gonna let you get up out of here.
Okay.
But the first one, since we're on DB, and you can give me a short answer here, is there any hope in the new scheme for former first-round pick Noah Igbinoghene?
That was my question. I was gonna ask that question.
It's kind of funny because I feel like he didn't play a ton last year, but when he did, like it wasn't bad the way we were used to seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to that game in Miami against Pittsburgh when he got the game-winning interception.
Yeah.
I felt like that was maybe the best game he played as a Dolphin. I don't see why like you wouldn't bring him to camp and at least give him a shot to compete. Unless he's just kind of like a bad problem in the locker room, but I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
So bring him to camp and see what he's got. I'd have to go back and watch. I think mostly at Auburn, he was like press man. And I feel like the thing he struggled with a lot in his time as a Dolphin has been like pattern recognition, which you've got to be really, really good at in this system because of all the zone stuff you're doing. But I think he's worth bringing to camp and seeing what he can do.
Yeah, so I just don't think he has the football IQ.
Yeah.
Like for me, yeah, you could be as talented as you want and as skilled as you want, as fast as you want, quick, whatever people are going to say, agile. I don't think he has the hips like some people think he has the hips. I just think there's things at an optimist level that shouldn't happen in professional football.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, he still lacks in some of those areas. I doubt it's because people aren't teaching him it. I remember, so I do this thing called 2 Shades 24, where I pick some of the my 24 underrated college players coming out, and I would watch the combine, and I seen him lining up with the wrong foot. You know what I'm saying? Like front foot forward on the inside. I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
And then Deion Sanders called him out on it. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, he didn't say it like that. Like, who taught you this? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and that was before he was even drafted by the Dolphins. So I just felt like I don't know what's going on here. And I really think we whiffed on that. And it's okay. It's not his fault that we drafted him in the first round. If you want my real opinion, I think Flores drafted him in the first round. I don't think it was Greer, but that's here nor there. Before we let you go, we do this thing once a year now.
Okay.
It's called the quarterback ranking, 1 through 32. And it was a hit for us last year. It was a huge hit for us. This year we're putting it on steroids, and we're going to have a couple friends give us their top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL in order from 1 to 32. I'm not going to put you on the spot here and see if you participate with us, but just know we're going to hit you up. I guess it's not really a question, but it's just a comment. We're going to hit you up, and if we could get your top 32 quarterback lists, top quarterback rankings, then we appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I can do that for sure.
Before we let you go, tell everybody again where they can find you.
Yeah, so follow me on Twitter at KevinMD4, and then you can find my show and any articles on DolphinsTalk.com.
Hey, y'all know what time it is. Stay put. You taking notes, Kadeem? Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive. Test negative.
Wait.
Write that down.
So it's start again.
Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive. Test negative. For Kadeem Simmons and Kevin Dern, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
So one of the things we were meant to do but didn't get around to doing because of how things panned out was discuss Tua's availability of Super Bowl weekend, which probably could be a whole episode in itself because he did say quite a lot. But there's been some stuff. So before we truly delve into anything, when it happened, what did you make of the news that Tua cancelled a whole bunch of interviews?
You know, Kadeem, my birthday was last week.
I shouted you out.
Yeah. Hey, you did. I appreciate you, bro. So my birthday was last week, and I did something that I've been wanting to do for a long time on my birthday. Like, first of all, I did something I wanted to do, but then I did it on my birthday this year. So I started jiu-jitsu classes. I went first day, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Training Center. You know what I'm saying? I am a student now. Charlie Touche is a white belt. Hopefully, years pass by, we pull this footage up, and I talk about me being a white belt, and then, I climb through the ranks. So me and Tua got something in common, bro. We're mixed martial artists now. I like it. Shout out to Tua on his judo and jiu-jitsu journey. I hope I said it right. Shout out to Tua. I thought I got tongue twisted. But anyway, when he canceled his media availability, I wasn't sure if it was intentional because he canceled all of his media right before the Florio interview. And everyone that's a Dolphin fan knows that Florio takes all kinds of jabs at Tua. And that's the same podcast that Chris Sims is on. Scatter the Rest Right Tight is over there. And, Chris Sims said Tua was like the 37th ranked quarterback in the league once upon a time. So I thought it was intentional, and I didn't mind it. I'm like, and then they got on the podcast and they were crying about it. Florio and Sims, oh, be professional, and you guys canceled, and we never said anything bad about your guy.
There's so many receipts, dude.
Bro, you know that why you lying like me? Why are you lying, bro? Like, come on, man. So they were big whiny, bro, on the podcast when Tua didn't show up. Oh, you canceled on us, and man, get out of here. So anyway, I didn't mind it. You don't know what happened, why they canceled, but now it actually, some time later, we find out Tua did switch his agent, and the agent who represents CJ Stroud, Deshaun Watson, I want to say someone else. Like it's a couple other quarterbacks. They represent Tua now. And word on the street is there were a couple people bad-mouthing one of their clients. So they pulled all of their clients from all of the interviews that week. So it wasn't just Tua, and it wasn't just Tua and Florio type thing. What you got?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's been people on social media, and one person in particular who turned around and was like, this is going to be bad for Tua. The media aren't going to respect him. They're going to start saying negative things. And I try and stay out of certain social media conversations. But your face exactly. I was responding to be like, yo, the media's been talking negatively about Tua for years. Tua cancelling interviews isn't going to change anything. Like, it can't get any worse. I know a lot of people that were like, Tua should never even have said yes to some of these people, given the way they treated him. But Tua's way too nice, so he's going to do it. But yeah, I thought what he said was, I guess, Tua in the media is always a fun thing to watch. He would say something which he probably shouldn't say, but it's always fun to see him do that and stuff like that. As expected, a lot of questions were about his health. I think he said to one person at one point, it was like, it's getting tiring. Like, everyone's asking me about my health. Like, I'm fine. Like,
I do feel like that's what happens when you're not available, though. Because then if you were available earlier, those questions would have came out earlier. But now, since this is the first time you're available, they're just picking up where they left off. Like, well, the last time we seen you, bro, like, you weren't in the best light, and we understand that there might be concussion issues now. That's the first, like, it's almost it's almost like being considerate. Like, I feel like I'll be a terrible person if I don't ask you, is your health all right? You know what I'm saying? So that's unfortunate that we're there, but yeah, we're gonna probably have a whole episode on Tua pretty soon, though.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of wrap things up and kind of bring it back to the defense, but also kind of keep it on Tua. When we last played the Broncos and Tua was benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick, that was a Vic Fangio defense, wasn't it? It was a Vic Fangio team in general, wasn't it?
So that was 2 years ago?
I believe so, yeah.
Fangio, yeah. I want to say it was a Vic Fangio defense.
So, yes, we've kind of seen Tua against a Vic Fangio defense. But one point people are making is that, Tua going up against this defense week in, week out during the offseason is only going to make him better. So, it's a sneaky positive, I guess. As they say, iron sharpens iron. Tua going up against the look the defense are going to give him. Camp last year was fun. It'd be even better this year. But I think you kind of mentioned it already, but what else can the Dolphins get from playing this Vic Fangio defense week in, week out? Like, not just Tua improving. Can you see any other players, stepping up, or like not stepping up, but really, really benefiting from going up against, what Vic Fangio is going to show them this year?
So just off the back of what you said about we played them, and that was the game Fitzpatrick came in, Tua got benched, almost brought us back. Do you remember how that game ended?
Fitzpatrick for an interception.
Do you know who got the pick?
Justin Simmons.
Yeah. So what Dern was just talking about was, this is gonna be take the over on Jevon Holland interceptions next season. Whatever that over under is, take the over. This is probably, as a defensive mind, it's probably one of the player friendly defenses. Like, I get to do whatever I want here. It doesn't, you don't have to be the most athletic world-class corner or DB on this defense. And you get almost the same way, not the same way, but similar to Richard Sherman's success. Like, bro, Richard Sherman, all you did was play deep thirds. And I hope someone clips this and it goes viral. You know what I'm saying? Why not? But all you did, Richard Sherman, was play deep third. You're not Darrelle Revis, Holmes. Like, you had Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor behind you, on top of you. Like, I would hope you had success. You know what I'm saying? So it's teamwork make the dream work. Unlike our scheme that we had in the past few years, you got to be that dude, and you got to play on islands, and you got to be pretty decent. You got to be pretty nice. That's not the case here. So again, I think the D line is really gonna. Shout out to Jason Keck. He got a February birthday. Anybody who got a February birthday, I rock with y'all. Jordan Simmons, voice of the podcast. Miles Sanders, friend of the podcast.
Stop. Miles Gaskin.
Miles Gaskin. I should have just said 40 acres of the Hellcat. But you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think the D line, I said Jason Keck because of Jalen Phillips. I think you're gonna take the over on Jalen Phillips sacks. I think we're gonna see more Jalen Phillips rushing the quarterback than in coverage now. So everybody wins. I'm not thrilled about the Vic Fangio. Oh, this is the final piece. Now we're gonna do it. Like, I thought we were gonna do it anyway. It helps. It's cool that Vic Fangio is here, but I think we were gonna be pretty good anyway.
Guys, share, like, and subscribe. Turn on notifications.
Oh, if you made it this far, and hold on, yeah, I think we could do this now. I think there's a treat that you guys get for making this far. We did say that we were going into the new league year going live. We said that, right, Kadeem?
Yep, 100%.
And then I missed the last episode, so we probably didn't really address all the stuffs for going live. But we're gonna have a giveaway when we go live. And if you made it this far on this episode, y'all get the treat, because we're gonna have a giveaway on the first episode of the new league year for Go Time Dolphins. And I alluded to what the giveaway was, but check us out on the next episode and I'll tell y'all what the giveaway is. Do you want to tell them right now, Kadeem?
I think if they made it this far, I think we should tell them.
That's what's up.
And so very quickly, if anything, we won't tweet it, we won't do anything. So that's how we know the people that watch the entire episode don't skip past anything like that. If you made it this far, you will be the first ones to know. And if anything, comment in the video saying first. We will know what that means. If you made it this far and you're about to hear what the giveaway is, comment in the video saying first. Just so we know. Just so we know.
We're giving away a pair of game-worn Jevon Holland gloves. Jevon Holland, friend of the podcast, gave us some game-worn gloves, and we're giving them away here on Go Time Dolphins already. Oopsie.